Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janadalabha My great history, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki, Dasodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki, ISKCON Bhakti Dharmacharya's Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Gandharaj ki, oh glories to the symbol of the oh glories to the symbol of the oh glories to the symbol of the oh, glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna, good morning everyone. I'm here filling in at the request of Charanaravindra Prabhu. So if I say something untowards that you might not like, you can blame him. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Study today Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 15. The Buddhist talks with Maitreya. Tadasya koshara Tadasya kosarva sarmadatur Hare katameva katasusaram Udvitya puspebhya ivartabandho Shivaya nakirtaya tirtakirte Tadasya kosarva sarmadatur Hare katameva katasusaram Udvitya puspebhya ivartabandho Shivaya nakirtaya tirtakirte Tadasya kosarva sarmadatur Hare katameva katasusaram Udvitya puspebhya ivartabandho Shivaya nakirtaya tirtakirte Tat, therefore, Asya is Kosharava, O Maitreya, Sharmadatu, of one who awards good fortune, Hare, of the Lord, Katam, topics, Eva, only, Katasu, of all topics, Saram, the essence, Udvitya, by quoting, Puspebhya, from the flowers, Eva, like that, Hartabandho, O friend of the distressed, Shivaya, for welfare, Na, of us, Kirtaya, kindly describe, Tirtha, pilgrimage, Kirta, of glorious. Translation, O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are many topics for different persons in different modes of material nature. But the essential topics are those in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, materially affected, conditioned souls are all more or less averse to topics of the Supreme Lord because some of them do not believe in the existence of God, and some of them believe only in the impersonal feature of the Lord. In both cases, there is nothing for them to say of God. Both the non-believers and the impersonalists deny the essence of all topics. Therefore, they engage in topics of relativity in various ways, either in sense gratification or in mental speculation. For the pure devotees like Vidura, the topics of both the mundaners and the mental speculators are useless in all respects. Thus, Vidura requested Maitreya to talk of the essence only, the talks of Krishna and nothing else. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksun Dilitangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Durga Meva Mendasya Skalapati Gatimuhu Svakripa Yustu Dalina Shantu Shanturvalambanam. I'll just read the translation again for Nectarian. Translation. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. So, here we have verse 15 of this chapter called Vidura's Talks with Maitreya. So, in the first part of this chapter, Vidura is speaking with Maitreya, and in these particular verses, verses 13 to 16, we're in verse 15 now, we are coming to the conclusion of Vidura's questions to Maitreya. So, just previously in verses 13 and 14, Vidura was continuing to glorify Krishna Katha to Maitreya as it being the whole solace of human existence. And in verse 15 here, he's asking for a benediction from Maitreya. He's asking for a benediction where he likens himself to a honeybee. Right, so where he wants the honey nectar of hearing about the glories of Krishna's pastimes, form of his incarnations, glories of his devotees, and his wonderful pastimes and leelas with his devotees. Always Krishna's having some pastimes with his devotees. Krishna's never alone. So the honeybee, I was just thinking about the honeybee. So we're very fortunate on the farm here that we are so much immersed in nature. We can see nature at work. I was just walking, just the day before yesterday, I was walking along the temple coming to greeting the deities, and I heard this loud humming noise. And I looked up. I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but I looked up and there's this thousands of bees on the newly blossomed kadamba tree there. So, so we, I used to call them kadamba balls, but they can't be balls because they're flowers, because they're so fragrant that the bees are actually extracting the nectar from them. It's quite just a coincidence that when Dina Bandhu was here the week before last, the first thing he said about the temple, he said, last time I came here, there was these beautiful yellow balls on the kadamba tree. I wonder if they're there now. Unfortunately, he was just 3 days too early. And 3 days after I left a postscript in and said, yeah, the kadamba balls are all flourishing, and Krishna's going to have kadamba garlands around him because the kadamba flower is very much a favorite of Krishna. So they have so many bees buzzing around because they've got such a strong pollen that attracts the bees. So the bees collect this pollen, and it's the most fragrant part of the flower. So they go for the fragrance in flowers. You may have a garden of flowers, and you'll see that the bees are hovering around a particular set of flowers where they can extract so much honey. And in fact, they make so much honey that it's enjoyed by others, such as human beings. So we enjoy the honey that's made by bees, and also bears in the woods who love honey also. So we have a devotee here from the United States here, Panchali. So we can ask her the hard question: have you seen bears in the woods that like honey? You have. There you go. Yeah. We don't have bears in Australia, koala bears, but so of course a devotee
So Vidura is expressing a conclusive request here from Maitreya for him to just describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Of course, a devotee is just not simply interested in hearing this topic solely for himself, but he wants to share this for the benefit of others in the hope that they develop an affinity for hearing about Krishna Katha, hear about Krishna consciousness. But as Krishna states in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Devi hi esha gunamai mama maya dharatyaya mam eva prapajante mayam etam tarantate. That this material energy, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, but this passionate ignorance, is very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. So Devi Esha Guna Mai. Guna means like a rope. It literally means a rope. So these material modes are like ropes. And ropes are used to bind things. So the living entity gets bound up by these ropes so tightly that he is in complete illusion. But even though we are bound up by these ropes, which can be compared that we're imprisoned by these ropes, we don't want to leave the prison of this body. We're so attached to it that despite that the body is eventually just falling apart on us, we just cling to it. Just like they say, a drowning man clutches at straws. So in Australia here, hands up those who are not born in Australia. Just a 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought it might have been half, but mainly all Australia. So in Australia here, we like to swim in the surf, right? That's a popular sport. And we have a lot of drowning. A lot of people drown. So we have lifesavers there to watch out for the people who, can't swim properly. So sometimes it used to be in the old days, before they had boogie boards and things like that, that the lifeguard, he would go out, he would swim out with a rope, and he'd grab the drowning man. And it's just like a drowning man will clutch at straws. So he used to grab the head of the lifesaver and push him under, right? Try to push him under. So the lifesaver would have to give him big biff under the chin, knock him out, and then drag him back to shore, right? That was in the old days, but now it's a little bit to grab hold of the board. So the whole thing, the drowning man is clutching at straws. So this is how it is that we just hang on to this body. But the problem is that we have to let go. We have to let go because the material world, it's a temporary world. That's how it is. It's just the nature. Krishna's created this nature. It's brought with it's temporary. Everything is destroyed. We have birth and we have death, and all around us, trees are born, trees are dying, mountains are springing up, mountains are flattening, oceans they're swelling up. It's all changing, and ultimately. Everything is destroyed and recreated. Just like we give some Play-Doh to kids, that's very, very popular, and the kids are sort of molding something into shape, and then they put it all into one lump, and then they can use it again the next time. So the only thing is that this universe, it's ultimately the universe is destroyed also. So not everything within the universe, but the universe as well. The only thing isn't destroys the living entity, because the living entity is eternal. So is a spark of the supreme eternal. So that living entity here is lost in this labyrinth of all this material energy, which is impermanent. It's just temporary, and it's always changing. So the living entity is changing along with this material energy through different ages, going through myriads and myriads of bodies. So what does the living entity do in this material world? How does it work? Well, Srila Prabhupada explains here in the purport that that there are many topics for different persons in the different modes of material nature. So the living entity travels according to the modes of material nature. Some living entities are in the mode of ignorance, some in the mode of goodness, some in the mode of passion. So I'll just try delineate a few examples, like for instance the philosophies of some of these living entities. We'll start with like the mode of ignorance. That is easy to relate to. Some of us in our early days, especially in the Cultural Revolution, there used to be certain philosophies such as eat, drink, and be merry, be here, for tomorrow we die. Ever heard that? It's still going on. And be here now. Well, it's sort of like hedonistic philosophies that you throw caution to the winds and enjoy to your fullest satisfaction. So, in my days, we were all influenced by someone. So us young people were influenced by the rock gods of music. So one song I remember when I was very young had the words in it, "I hope to die before I get old," right? Well, that didn't happen. So there's one fellow, and I can quote his name because I know none of you know him except for Ram, probably. His name was Ginger Baker. So Ginger Baker was one of these rock gods, and he lived to a ripe old age of 82. And then he was, in an interview, he said, "Every joint and every organ in my body aches all the time. God is punishing me for my indiscretions during my youth." So, so much for that philosophy of eat, drink, and be merry. So there's another one. Sometimes Maya throws somebody up that apparently looks like they're enjoying all the way through, that they're defying nature and enjoying. And one name that is bandied about is this name of Keith Richards, right? So Keith Richards seems to have been here. They've been talking about how he's still alive for the last 30 years. It's a miracle, right? So actually, Keith Richards, he keeps on keeping on, but somehow or other he sort of now looks like a Yamaduda, but he's still hanging in there. He himself said, he went on stage once and they gave him a rousing applause that he was there. And he said, "Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here. In fact, I'm just glad to be anywhere." So this is the mode of ignorance, really. So you do that, but actually material energy just crushes you, and there is no recourse to anything. And then there's those in the mode of passion, who are driven by objective desires for gain. There's that saying, "Climb to the top of the heap," right? And to do that, you need help. Get a motivational guru, right? And he will make you walk across hot coals, right? And so, of course, it costs you quite a bit of money to get motivated by these gurus. So eventually they're the ones who become rich. I don't know about anybody else who goes to the guru, but the motivational gurus become rich. Srila Prabhupada actually made a joke one time in Vrindavan that when they opened up a bank at the front wall in Vrindavan. You've seen the wall in Vrindavan? I don't know if there's a bank there anymore, is there? There used to be one, but it's not there now. But it was. Prabhupada was very proud of the fact that he had a bank and helped open the bank, and he spoke to the banker and he told a joke to the banker. He said that that this man, he came to the bank and he gave his money to the bank. He said, I want to make some money, so I'm giving you some money to help me make money. And the banker took the money, said, "Thank you very much. We have money and now we have more money." So money makes money. So we took your money. So I never got the joke either too much, but it was. So Prabhupada laughed at that joke. "Thank you very much for your money." So, but the problem with the motivational gurus, even though they make money and so forth, but they also suffer from the modes. They also have the miserable, they still suffer from the material modes of material energy, and their gains are very temporary. They have to relinquish death. Sometimes they search for fame, adoration, and distinction, want to leave a footprint. They donate a hospital wing, a university, a library, an art gallery. I remember when I was a student, I used to go to the art gallery because there was a part of our course that we did in arts. And I see every second picture would have a plaque underneath it, donated by Felton Bequest. So I'm thinking, who is Felton Bequest? And I never found out, right? So some point in time, say someone donate a whole lot of money to an art gallery, or this is the so-and-so called gallery and this is a so-called wing. Who cares? Nobody knows after. They just sort of fade into obscurity. So the footprint there is a very, very small footprint. And then we see the mode of goodness, the ones who try to do good works for humanity. I had an experience of you see visual experience of this when I went to my son's graduation at the university, and you have all the alumni, all the sort of professors and the scholars, the intelligentsia. They all come in a big group to award all the degrees, and they've got their black coats and their three-cornered hats, and they walk up with their big sticks, their pomp, and they get up and they speak rousing words about how former students have gone on to make their mark in society, enhancing the reputation of this educational institution, and so on and so forth. It seems to be very impressive, but Srila Prabhupada was never impressed. Because he called these people Mayaphariti Gyanis. You know what that means? One whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, especially in the modern times. Why? Because they deliberately exclude God as the creator. Any student who actually wants to put forward the intelligent design, the creation theory, gets shunned. So they deliberately exclude God, and so then they have to stick to their meager theory with Darwin's theory and Big Bang theory. Darwin's theory is actually modern science. The modern science that they created has actually disproved Darwin's theory. And Prabhupada sums it all up in this purport here, that he says that the non-believers, where is it? Non-believers and impersonalists deny the essence of all topics. Therefore, they engage in topics relatively in various ways, either in sense gratification or in mental speculation. So for these intelligentsia, it would be wise for them to heed the words of one of their own, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, nobody heard of? Yeah, we all know Sigmund Freud. He's still here in his works, and he says that the desire of the human being is to be happy. Oh, sorry, I'll say this again. The desire of the human being to be happy is not fulfilled by the plan of creation. The human being is constantly accosted by the miseries of the human body, who is always in search of fulfillment and constantly remains depressed. I'll say that again. It's really profound. The desire of the human being to be happy is not fulfilled by the plan of the creation. Oh, how did he come to that? The human being is constantly accosted by the miseries of the human body, which is always in search of fulfillment and constantly remains depressed. So he's actually echoing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, because here in the material world we have three kleshas, what we call the Adhyatmic, the Adhibautic, and Adhidevic. Yeah. So he's nailed it. The miseries of the mind, the miseries which he specialized in, the miseries caused by other living entities, not only human beings, but other creatures as well. And the miseries that are caused by the demigods because the right Jagya is not, because Jagya is not being performed for the demigods, and they're not happy. So the rains are being withheld, and floods are coming, storms, and so on and so forth. So the ropes, the gunas, the material modes of nature, the ropes of material nature are so tight in all circumstances. So in these different modes, there are some people come up and say, I can help, I'll help you all. But how can those people help when they are tied up with the ropes themselves? So if someone's tightly bound up, this is in Prabhupada's purport here, if someone's tightly bound up by a rope, and then someone else is tightly bound up by the ropes also says, oh, I'll help you get out. How can he help? He can't. So one needs a liberated soul to help. So Srila Prabhupada explains that famous shloka, Brahmanda, Brahmate, Purna Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasadapaya, Bhakti Lata Beach, that this living entity is traveling in this material universe from one birth to another, going up, going down, coming back, working out his karma, going back up, going back down again, on and on and on, eternally, seemingly eternally. Brahmanda, Brahmate, Korna Bhagavan Jiva, so many places to see. This material universe is so vast, so many different bodies to be in. And we don't know how many bodies we've been in, but there's been someone, it's like we might have even been here in the last kalpa, before the last creation even. So he's traversing the universe, and finally, when he actually just comes to the lotus feet of someone who can help him out, the spiritual master, then he can get out. So that is by chance. Sometimes it's a chance meeting, or it's just like a work in progress. That when we see a spiritual master or someone who can actually take us to Krishna, that is the way out. That is our part out of the prison. So what is the point of trying to gratify our material senses, mind and intelligence, if we don't engage in this process of trying to get out of the material world? So that process is Krishna consciousness, and it's also Yukta Vairagya. So everything we do is linked in Krishna's service. It's not like we directly chant and pray to Krishna every day because we have our all day, every day, because we have our functions to do. We have a farm to run. We have our bodies to maintain. But we are engaging whatever we can, so we can engage ourselves and others in Krishna's service, and then these kleshas, these miseries of material life that people are trying to get out and rearrange in this way and that way, rearrange the material energy so it'll be comfortable. This is the main concept of humanity in general, that I want something nice for myself, I want some security, I want happiness. So all these dualities, because if you want happiness, you get the stress also. Even though you don't want it, it still comes, just like you got heat and cold and all the dualities. So the miseries cease when we actually come to that platform where we're fully engaged in that process of Krishna consciousness. And it's just a path that we take on, which takes us back to our real spiritual natures, because as long as we identify with the material energy, we are stuck in this material platform, in this material prison. So our destination is to get out of this prison, go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Thank you very much. finished a little bit early, but does anyone want to make a comment or ask a question or share their experience? Yes. Hang on. Sorry?
It seems like this must be a pretty cleverly designed prison then. We're hanging in there with our sort of nails practically. We don't want to get out.
So it is rather amazing because we have a prison warden, and the prison warden, she has got many names. It's a female, it's the goddess Durga or Maya, and often, well, goddess Durga is the wife of Lord Shiva, and she's a devotee of Krishna, but she's been given the task of keeping us living entities bound in this material universe, because until we are of that consciousness where we want to get out, and the only way out is Krishna. There is no other way out. We look for impersonalization, we become one with everything. That's just part of Krishna. That's another false hope. So until then, it's her business to keep us here. And so sometimes we just marvel at her prowess that here we are, we're devoted, we want to become Krishna conscious, right? We're trying so hard, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're chanting, and we're in the temple here, and everything's great. And as soon as we cross the bridge and go into town, see a coffee shop or a liquor store or whatever, we go to the supermarket, we're looking at the ingredients, oh, will I enjoy this? So immediately our mind just starts to, release itself, like, let's go, let's do it, so it's very hard to control, so many thoughts a minute. So Maya is very, very, very engaging. So it's testing devotees that we get put to the test. Do we really want to know Krishna? Do we want to actually serve Krishna? Or are we just being insincere? So she doesn't want any insincere devotees insincere souls disturbing Krishna. So she's unceasing. So even Srila Prabhupada, he actually said that, the devotees, we have no idea of the potency of Maya. And even he was praying to Krishna that even himself, even though he's such a liberated soul, he was praying to Krishna that he wouldn't fall into the into the trap of the illusory energy of Maya. Very strong. Thank you very much. Yeah. But if we all stick together, that's the hope, that if we all stick together, we can overcome this. Association is very important. Sadhu Sangha. So just Prabhupada gives the example of one stick. You get one stick and it breaks really easy, but you put a whole lot of sticks together and you can't break them. So in the association of devotees, and the association of the Shastra, the spiritual master, and the darshan of Krishna, the mercy of Krishna, we can stay fixed on our path. Enjoy the nectar of the honeybee. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna.